Alright, y'all, by a quick show of hands, who is a professional mythbuster? Wait, is there such a thing though as a professional mythbuster? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like I want to switch this channel up just a little bit. I think maybe we should just like bust myths, right? Because I don't. Okay, look, the data that I got, you know, it's not strong enough for me to like either stand on one thing or, you know, keep experimenting. But right now it's experimenting. It's an experimenting reaction. We are looking at myths that are, you know, debunked, right? History myths that are debunked. So we kind of are marrying history and myth busting in one, right? Should be exciting, maybe. And also we are looking at, you know, some false history myths that you may still believe. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Gather around. See what we may learn. See what we may bust. See what, you know, what we can get out of this, right? Let's get to it.
Missing, ain't no telling, do they love or did they kill him? The dominoes have fallen, we can't go back to beginning. This existential crisis, the reason I cannot keep competing and keep on living. So it's back against the world, seeing all your value once you dealt with all the dirt. Backing up slowly from these diamonds and...
Alright, still gathered, hear ye. Still gathered here by the So Basically channel. Yeah, still debunking these history myths and misconceptions. Okay, so you know we have reached a level where it's another one of the Jesus myth bustings. You know what I'm saying? Where yeah, Jesus's birthday is not the 25th. So basically Jesus's birthday is not Christmas Day, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying, y'all? Yeah, that's not Jesus's birthday. So if, you know, I think that, you know what, let me back off of that one. You know, the Christians, it belongs to the Christians. They'll decide however, you know, however they feel about their information, right? They'll decide what to do with their information. But apparently that's the case. And we just come from some information, right? Some details that he didn't even have long hair, bruh. You know what I'm saying? He had short regular hair, and it's like slowly but surely, you know what I'm saying? Myths about Christianity just like keep coming up. No, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know, we might just hear he was a family man after all. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Of which obviously it's not a bad thing being a family man. It's just, you know, there's a whole lot of details about when it comes to like the Bible, right? And Jesus' life's details. Bro, obviously they didn't cover the man's every single step of life. Like every single little thing. You know what I'm saying? So what about the moments that we're not seeing? Let me get off of that. As I'm saying to you, right? It's like, let me leave those kind of conversations to the Christians to have, right? But yeah, let's get back to it. So basically, my fault, bro.
Much of the knowledge it used to hold was transferred to other cities and libraries that were built around the world.
Yeah.
Jesus was not born on December 25th.
Okay.
The exact date is unknown, but there is evidence that points to
the exact date is still unknown. His birthday is a mystery. That's actually interesting.
Real date potentially being sometime in the summer months. The Bible does not say anywhere that Jesus was born in December.
And look, here's another thing, bro. You have Christians all across the world, right? Summer is not the same like at every single space on Earth, bro. Like on the world, on Earth, right? So you have northern hemisphere, you have southern hemisphere. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, as per those hemispheres, bro, like people in the north may be experiencing summertime at a different period of time than people at the north, and vice versa. So when you like during the summertime, it's like, which summertime, bro? You know what I'm saying? Bro, you cannot be like, you cannot rule over everybody, bro. No one man can have all that power. Look at the confusion that it actually causes then. What do you mean in the summer?
Or even the winter. The gospel of
whose winter? Whose summer?
Luke mentions shepherds in the fields watching over their flocks, and in ancient Judea, much like most of the world, the shepherds keep their animals indoors during the winter months. Luke also mentions that the Roman Emperor Augustus ordered a census at the time, and these were usually carried out in the spring or summer months because it was easier to travel. The Gospel of Matthew mentions a bright star of Bethlehem in the sky at the time of his birth, which astronomers believe could have been the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn or Venus, which occurred in June, or even a supernova or comet, which the Chinese had recorded at the time as happening in the summer. Early Christians didn't celebrate Jesus' birth, but hundreds of years later,
so it wasn't about Jesus' birth?
in 336, the newly Roman Church chose December 25th to replace the winter solstice festivals and have a unified specific date for the whole Roman Empire.
Winter solstice festivals, what were those about? Winter solstice festivals by the Roman Empire. So the Roman Catholic Church used to celebrate the winter solstice festival. What was that about?
The Roman Catholic Church actually didn't originate the winter solstice festival. The celebration of the winter solstice goes back to pre-Christian traditions, and over time it influenced the timing of Christmas. So what was once a pagan celebration of the solstice eventually merged with Christian traditions to become what we know as the Christmas season.
So it's just a merging of these things.
Exactly. It was a merging of these different cultural traditions, and over time they evolved into the holiday practices that we associate with Christmas today.
Yo, talk about bro, broken telephone, my boy. It's like when did it transform so intensely though? You know what I'm saying? To a point where people have adopted these ways. You know what I'm saying? People have adopted these holidays, made it part of their identities their whole lives. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, yo, nah, it's not a Jesus. It's not something as trivial as a Jesus birthday. Okay, I know to the Christian, like, Jesus' birth was not a trivial thing. It's not a trivial thing. But it's like for them to just even accept that. Like, when did that even become the, popular belief? Right? To a point where, okay, 25th of December stamped as Christmas time. What is Christmas time? Yo, Jesus' birthday. It's like, bro, cap. Apparently it's the biggest cap on earth, bro. Like, damn, talk about just like misinformation, misguiding information, bro. For 2,000 years.
The Salem witch trials did not burn anyone at
the Salem witch trials. I remember we used to read about the Salem witch trials. I think I was in grade 10 grade 10. I'm not gonna lie, shit was ass. This shit was ass, but it had some like interesting points because you needed like to look beyond the fact that it's ass for you to just like pass the grade. It was like in my English class, right? The Salem witch trials, okay.
the stake. This is a myth that became popularized in TV shows and movies.
Oh, so it wasn't real life. Okay, yeah. It wasn't actually real life, y'all.
Movies leading to a misconception about what actually happened. Between 1692 and 3 in the colony of Massachusetts, more than 200 people were accused of witchcraft.
For real?
Of those, 30 were found guilty, and of those, 19 were executed, all by hanging. 14 women and 5 men, and another man was pressed to death for refusing to enter a plea, but none were burned. Unlike in...
No, man. Was it the Salem witch trials that we was reading that one time in school, that other time? It is, bro.
Europe, some accuse witch...
No, but these details are new to me. Okay, maybe it's because I was like... Yeah, I was probably a little too absent-minded to even remember the details of the story now, but... Yeah, some of these details are new to me, I ain't gonna hold you.
Witches were burned at the stake, and this is likely where the myth around the Salem trials comes from, because it's the biggest and most well-known witch trial in America, but it never involved any burning. It started when a few local women in the village of Salem were accused of witchcraft by 4 young girls. Betty, aged 9, Abigail, who is
yes, I remember these details.
11, Anne, who was 12, and Elizabeth, who was 17.
Okay.
In the years following, several of these accusers, who were mostly teenage girls, later admitted that they had fabricated their claims and the practice was soon stopped. Abigail accused a total of 57 people, and Anne named and testified against more than 60 people. Some adults who even dared to accuse the teenagers of lying would themselves be put on trial for witchcraft.
Yeah.
Historians believe that most of the accusations were because of family feuds and rivalries, and many of the victims' families would later receive compensation due to the loss of life and some of their properties being confiscated after the convictions.
Damn.
The Spanish flu did not come from Spain.
Spanish flu did not come from Spain. Why is it called the Spanish flu though?
The name is actually misleading, as its origin has a strange story. The Spanish flu of 1918 to 19 was one of the most deadly diseases in history. Unlike typical seasonal flu, which is more dangerous for the young and old, Spanish flu was extremely contagious and unusual because it was most lethal for young adults as well as the young and old. It infected around 500 million people, which was a third of the world's population at the time, claiming the lives of around 50 million people, with the highest estimates at around 100 million.
Yo, the Spanish flu was crazy, bro. Okay, wait, why was it even why was it even called the Spanish flu to begin with, right? But wait, let me just compare it with that 2020 stuff, right? Yo, which disease did more damage, right? Between the Spanish flu and the 2020 pandemic?
The Spanish flu of 1918 had a devastating impact globally, with tens of millions of deaths worldwide. In comparison, the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic also caused millions of deaths, but the global response and medical advancements helped mitigate some of the damage. Both pandemics were significant, but the Spanish flu had a more abrupt and higher global death toll.
Oh, and it was because of the level of technological advancement at the time, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's unfortunate, brother. Alright, tell me why they coined it the Spanish flu, though.
Nobody knows exactly where it originated, but the earliest documented case was in Kansas in the United States. This occurred towards the...
Nobody really knows. Tell me even Copilot don't know that shit? Copilot, where did the Spanish flu originate? Where did it start?
The Spanish flu is believed to have originated in the United States, with the first known cases appearing in Kansas in 1918.
Okay, so like he's also not sure he's going with Kansas.
End of World War I, so most countries involved in the war had a media ban on talking about it because no country wanted to disclose that millions of their soldiers were being affected by this disease, as it would expose weaknesses. But Spain was a neutral country not involved in the war, so it was the first to report on it and gain public attention. Because of this, it became known as the Spanish flu, even though it didn't originate from there. People in the Middle Ages knew the Earth was round. It's one of the most popular myths that's found in some school textbooks and pop culture, that people in the Middle Ages were ignorant around the shape of the planet. The truth is that ancient civilizations knew the Earth was a sphere just by observing the moon and stars. Ancient Greeks like Aristotle was one of the first to prove it by pointing out that...
Yo, okay, do me a favor, y'all. I need y'all to say it with some chest, bro, in the comments, my boys. Right? Y'all think the Earth is flat or round, bro? I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this stuff. Like, comment that in the comment section, right? I want to see something real quick.
Ships disappear from the bottom first when sailing over the horizon, and that the Earth's shadow cast a round shape over the moon during a lunar eclipse. Eratosthenes was the first to properly calculate the circumference of the Earth around 240 BC by measuring shadows cast at two different locations, and then using the distance between the two places to calculate the circumference at 39,000 kilometers, which is impressively close to the true size, which is around 40,000. So we've known the Earth's shape for a long time, and Columbus even knew this, which is why he decided to reach Asia by sailing around the other way, although he did think the Earth was smaller than it actually was, which is why he believed to his dying day that the Caribbean islands he found were in Asia. Cinco de Mayo is not Mexican Independence Day.
Cinco de Mayo. I heard about the Cinco de Mayo.
In fact, it's hardly even celebrated in Mexico, but in the United States, it's become one of the biggest holidays of the year, celebrating Mexican culture and with beer sales said to be equal to that of the Super Bowl. Cinco de Mayo is actually a celebration of the Mexicans defeating the French in a specific battle on the 5th of May, 1862. This was a turning point to them later ending the French occupation in 1866.
Beautiful.
Mexican Independence Day, however, is the biggest and most important holiday in Mexico, celebrating when they gained independence from Spain back in 1821. Cinco de Mayo later became a big US holiday mainly because of advertising companies who saw it as an easy way to market food, alcohol, festivities, parades, and pretty much another excuse to party.
Nice. History, myths, and misconceptions debunked. So basically, y'all go ahead and show some love, man. Nice video, bro. You know, I didn't think I'd you know, complete or go through with the whole the whole mythology stuff, bro. I'm gonna lie, it might just be interesting, right? Might just be interesting. I might just yeah, I might just establish this series, dog, and just go for these kind of sort of videos. I might just go with the whole idea of getting history myths, not just any myth, you know. I'm still at that point where it's important to niche the content, right? Niche the reactions.
Random historical
facts. Hold on, before you go in.